One of the great debates in theologies throughout history has been the question of God immanent versus God transcendent. And it generally splits along east-west lines. In general, Western theologies have adopted the bias toward God transcendent, while Eastern philosophies have tended to see it as God immanent. God immanent simply means the God within, that God is inside you as a part of the fabric of who you are. God transcendent is the belief that God is actually mysteriously out there, and there's a gulf between the Creator and that which is created. The esoteric philosophy has resolved that conflict and that great difference of opinion, and it simply says both are true. Both are true. And how are both true? Both are true in this sense. As we evolve our consciousness to higher states, we're lifting our consciousness into a higher dimension of the greater life that we're a part of. Now, as we hold ourselves at that higher place, we are holding ourselves at a place where we more and more realize that everything from that point down is God immanent within us. Everything that every evolutionary development that has led us to this high state contributes to the discovery of our own divinity. So God immanent is the amount, is referencing the degree to which the one life, the greater life, has become part of the fabric of who you are. God transcendent is still that aspect of the greater life that you have not yet evolved or absorbed yourself into. So the beauty of this philosophy is it's a synthesis of both.
Most religions, perhaps before Christianity appeared, were focused on the almighty transcendent God, unreachable by man except in supplication and plea, a great superpower that was distinct and different from man, who was simply the creation of this transcendent almighty deity. But when, through Buddhism, through Gnosticism, the theory of emanation gained currency, one realizes that deity has nothing to make the universe out of except itself. So instead of creation, there's becoming, becomingness. The great deity becomes its creation. It suggests pantheism, and is not different from its creation. So God transcendent, the great deity which we all are, whole, all in all, emanates forth into ever-lessening spheres of consciousness. I call this becoming through self-sight. And it chooses to see ever less of itself, and thus creates a stream of emanation. But all the while, the great deity, the transcendent one, is the very creatures, the creations that have appeared. And this is what we call God immanent, God within. It is psychologically unhealthy and fearful to consider the great deity as separate from oneself. Of course, they will happily kill you if you say the great deity is not separate from yourself, but the self, all the little selves are the one self. All the lesser gods that St. Paul said we are the one God. And within every one of us, in fact, as every one of us, is a strand of the one and only. The transcendent one is always here in all of its creations to ever-lessening degrees, depending on how far down the stream of emanation one has followed, one has proceeded towards minuteness, even in the atom, in the subatomic particle, in whatever we call the ultimate particle event, the UPI. That's all that's allowed in any cosmos. It's the ultimate finitization. The God is present within. Now, we human beings are waking up to that. We say, hey, something wonderful is present within. In the AA program, the 12 Steps program, they call it the higher power. Yeah, it is. And the only thing that we have to realize is that the higher power is us. In other words, if God is immanent, present within any of his becomings or creations, it's not just a part of God, it's the fullness of God incompletely realized. We don't have the consciousness to realize the fullness of God, but as we retract ourselves along the emanative stream, more and more of what we really are is realized, and God immanent and God transcendent become the same. Now, in terms of what humanity needs, they really need to get over that spiritual inferiority complex where we're poor, miserable creatures and sinners and all the rest. We are all divine, and therefore, the reality of God immanent is a terribly important realization. God transcendent can be there, and we can feel like the lowliest of the low, and in one respect you could say we are, but when we realize that we are of the very substance of God, and God is of the very substance of us, that a whole new view of the universe is possible, and we can in fact rejoice in our transcendence, even though it's not fully realized in our immanence.